but someone asked me about advice with the colors and the development of a picture. This person sent me 2 of her pictures. It's somewhat the same landscape. She asked me if I had comments and suggestions how to improve. I started texting her, but being a bit more than average interested in color, it became a rather long message. So instead of sending her an essay, I decided to show her. So now I'm making this video. I'm going to add the picture she sent me so you can see it too, and describe to you what she has done and how I would improve of it. So that's what I'm going to do now. Try and help her move on with color. The first thing I asked her was if she had seen the Itten color wheel. It's colors presented in a circle and how they connect. In reality, there are 3 colors that reflects or can be mixed into all the colors, even black and white. I'm not going to go into detail because then this video is going to be long. Color is everything to me. No, my family is everything. And then my animals. And then my home. Yeah, but colors is pretty far up there. I like color. Now I have done some notes on here. Notes. Well, I've been putting down where I can find some of the most generic colors, because when you get a starter kit, you don't get the primary colors. Well, at least not all of them. Usually you get secondary colors. Now the yellow is a very picky color, so that's usually okay. So that's the one primary color that usually comes with every kit. And then there's primary red or magenta. A lot of people think it's pink or a cool red color, but it's actually how red is before you start mixing it, at least when you add color. Then there's primary blue or cyan. The red and blue are usually toned to a warmer nuance. Is that a word? Yeah, I think so. So it's easier to use for beginners, or it's color people are more familiar with. So you have to keep in mind, if you add yellow to ultramarine or blue to cadmium red, which are the generic blue and red in some of the basic kits, they are going to get muddy. The primary colors, that's the colors you can't mix. You have the primary red, blue and yellow. The red and blue are sometimes called cyan or magenta, and they appear a bit different to what people usually call the generic red and blue. The magenta has this pinkish tint to it, while cyan might appear a bit acid, almost turquoise, when you see them in the right light. So they aren't always called red and blue, but they are the primary colors which you need to mix colors that becomes vibrant and strong. However, when you buy a kit, there's nothing wrong about that. Buying kits is a great way to start, but you have to understand that the generic blue and the generic red are not primary colors, and the green sometimes has a little of all primary colors in them, so when you try to mix them they become muddy, and that's not your fault, so knowing about it is important. Now the generic colors you get in a kit is black and white, something close to cadmium red or Christmas red. You have ultramarine, a very darkish blue. There's a little red in that one, and cadmium red has a little yellow, and the green color is usually close to flato green, and then there's primary yellow. That's the 6 color set. You have 12 and 36, so then you get a lot more colors, but basically you can do fine with these colors if you know how they behave. If you're going to add some colors to your collection, I would get a good dark brown and a nice skin color or a warmish gray. Not because you can't mix them, but when you paint you have the same starting colors and you get a more consistent result on your pictures, and it's easier to compare and track your progress in the future. Orange and violet, those two I add. I use them a lot in my contrasts when I paint, and maybe flowers. Another way you can use your color wheel is finding contrast, because if you look at each side of the color wheel, it's what's called a complementary contrast. Yes, these colors enhance each other, so when you put them together you get a very strong color contrast. You can also use contrast with black and white, but if you know this you can get very vibrant and interesting pictures. And the last thing is, if you pick colors from 1/4 this way or 1/4 this way from the color circle, you get harmonious, hormonal, yeah, you get hormonal colors. No, you get harmony. I don't know the other word for it, so yeah, you get harmony in your picture. So if you have red as your, you can keep on choosing from this quarter or this quarter to make the colors harmonious. Yeah, I think I got it this time. However, if you use this, and this, these two colors are going to enhance each other and take up a lot of the attention. So yeah, if you want red to be your dominant color and to enhance it, you use green. To create harmony, you either use these orangey yellow colors or purple blue colors, and you can move around the circle and do this with every color, because it might not be a pure red color, it can be mixed with black, white, maybe some yellow, maybe some blue. You can still try and find the nuance you are working with and do the same thing. How do I enhance a detail? How do I create harmony? So there you go. Quick lesson, not nearly enough really, but I can go on forever. I'm going to put up the generic colors for this video. Most beginners get those, so I'm not going to use the primary colors, and I'm going to add the colors I like to get a harmonious or get a good result. Now that would be black and white, this is titanium white. There's also a white color called zinc white. The difference is how much pigment or how saturated the pigments are. So if you choose the zinc white, it's going to be translucent. The zinc white is usually used to mute colors or mix pigments that doesn't have good coverage. So it's titanium white that's usually in the kits. I'm going to put the white here. And the black. This is lamp black. Yeah, pretty saturated too. And it's a very pure pigment, so I usually don't use a lot of it, so that's too much. Anyways, I just put a lid on this and keep it for later. For sure. Then there's the yellow. You put it on the top. I usually use quite a lot of that. And the green. I'm going to put it here. And then the blue. Oh, come here. And the red. Now, I told you before, the red has a little yellow in it, and the blue has a little red in it. Now, to add my favorite colors, I'm going to use this warm gray, also called pale umber. Put it in the middle, and I have this brown. Now I like sorting my palettes where I have primary and secondary colors down here. I know there's no black and white in those. And I'm going to add some purple or violet, sorry, and orange. Put this here. And a more acidy green, almost lime-like. It's permanent green. And then I have this, what's it called? Caput violet. Yeah, it's a softer violet. It has more red and a little white in it. Now, the equipment. I have my palette. I'm going to put it up here. When I paint, I prefer some equipment above others. Now I have quite a lot of them, but I have picked what is essential to me. I have a fan brush like this. This one is great for creating details in grass, in trees, in hair. Yeah, that's one. I have this broad, flat but rounded brush. That's just to block out color and mix color and start on fading. And then I have a number 12 flat. I think this is like number 16. And I have a liner brush. Actually I have two, but the smallest one is the most important one, so I'm going to put this one away. I have a spatula. That's one for mixing colors, and when you paint mountains and stuff, you can put down rock structures and snow pretty easily with this one. I have a round brush to start trees and leafy environments, sometimes clouds. And I have a flat brush to do fadings in the sky or in the grass. Just I add color with this and use this one to get a nice surface before I put on the detail. I think that works. Last but not least, this is an old towel which I use to dry off excess pigment and water from my brushes. Yeah. And of course, I don't use this too much. I use it a little, especially in clouds on bright blue sky. Usually I use my round brush, but it's nice to have to start with, and it's a sponge. Yeah. The good thing is it puts down a good natural contour for things like clouds or fuzzy surfaces. But you can't really layer it very well. You can't put on the details without decent brushes. I have cut it to size. The idea is to frame it when I'm done. I always tape down when I use water on paper. This paper isn't really paper, it's actually cotton. The advantage with cotton papers or heavy duty sheets is that they don't warp as much, but as you see they do warp a little. The second thing I did was prime it, so I know the surface is pretty much done warping and it's not as white. I don't like starting out with bright white surfaces. It's a lot easier to cover a a soft gray than a bright white or dark black surface. So you can tell I'm not putting the tape at the edge, just because this edge is the exact size of the frame I'm going to put this in. So if I paint a little on the outside of the edge, I don't have to be too picky about where I put my picture. I have some millimeters to adjust my picture if I want to. Okay, so the first thing I do is start with the background. I want to start with the clouds, or the sky. I want to start with the sky. She has a very uniform sky. It's almost just one color with clouds on there. I want to decide somewhere the sun is coming in, so I'm thinking I want the sun to come from the left. This way I can add some textures to the clouds and to the forest in the background and to the meadow. But as I said, I'm going to start with the meadow. No, I'm going to start with the sky and not with this one. I'm going to add color with this, and because the sun is here, it's a lot lighter over here, and she has the meadow quite far down. I'm going to do the same. I want the sun to be up in the sky, but not all the way up, somewhere around here, and it's going to get less and less white as it goes in, up and down. because of the warps, I don't get these fine gradients. There you go, gradients, that's the word I was looking for. I don't get the fine gradients I'm looking for. It's going to be good for the clouds though. And because there will be clouds, I'm not going to do much more right now. I'm just going to leave it as is. I'm going to do the grass. I will use the dark color because I want to add the light colors later on, but the way these pigments are put together, it's made to create a nuance and not necessary cover the background. So I'm going to add a little bit of brown. If I had my primary colors, I would add yellow, blue, red together and get a military or dark olive green like this, and just a little dash of lamp black. I'm going to dab it in the water and just get a background going. It doesn't have to cover the sheet of paper because in the grass there's going to be some details, and then we're going to put in a forest in the background. Now I'm going to drag this brush into the sky a little bit. Perspective is determined by lines or by fading colors or overlapping shapes. And in this picture, because there is just clouds and grass and a little forest, I'm going to have to use the shapes or lack of shape and fading colors. I have to let this dry now, and while I wait, the colors I mix usually dries out too. The trick is to add some water and cover them, and I'm going to do that right now. You don't have to watch this, but you just use a spray bottle and put a lid on it. The colors won't dry as fast, and the water will stop the colors from drying right away. But the thing about acrylics is that they do dry pretty fast, so yeah, no guarantee, but it slows the process. The surface is dry to the touch. It's not fully dry, so if I add too much water, the paint will lift. It's not a good time for putting down sharp details, but for the clouds, I'm good to go. Now I'm going to use this sponge. I'm going to lift the lid off my paint. Ta-da! Still nice and moist. I have to use some on the surface to get some white color. Now if you're going to paint white clouds on a bright blue sky, you can't really have too much contamination in the paint. So now I'm just going to use this sponge to get the outline of the clouds. This one's actually a bit, yeah, like that. Now I have an outline, and I am going to try and get some shapes out of this. The first thing I'm going to do is use this number 12 flat and add some more white. Now you can tell that all the light is coming this way. And still add some more highlights. Just have to let it dry a bit first. Yeah. Now here comes the fun part. If you use the color wheel, the complementary color to blue is orange. If you mix orange with white, gray or black, you either get a peach, a dark brown, or a almost a skin color. So that's where this warm gray comes in. To make the color, not to make the clouds pop, I'm going to use this warm gray color on what's supposed to be the heaviest parts of the clouds. Okay, now I'm mixing violet with white. I needed more blue, but just a little bit of black. This color is really watered down. I don't want it to be too much, because if it is, it becomes too bold. Let's try. Now I'm just outlining the cloud that's in front of the big one in the background, and I'm dabbing again, because even in the shades there are shape to clouds. You might not see them right away, but yeah, just use your imagination. Have fun. Have fun. I need the white again, quite a lot of it. I'm going to reshape some of the clouds. I think I have to punch a hole through here with the color from the sky. Now you might wonder what that even means. It means I use blue color and get the sky shining through. Sky on top of this cloud is much darker. I use pure ultramarine, dab it in water, and just put a thin layer around the cloud. And now to finish the sky, at least for now, sometimes I decide to add some more detail. I'm going to drag the light from the sun around this way, almost into the clouds. Not quite, you need a small contour to make it appear like there's still sky there. It's a bit too thick for my liking. Keep adding water. Okay. Building up around the clouds. Careful, careful, not too much. A little white underneath, just to make it look like sky fades away. Okay, I usually work from the background and out. Now I'm done with the sky. The sky is behind the landscape, so I'm going to do the forest. The first thing I'm going to do is mix some violet, a little bit of white, and some black. If someone wants to use just black, and that's okay too, but you have to remember, even in the distance, forests have tree trunks, and I want the trunks to kind of show. And I want to pull it up here. I think that's good. I'm using my fan brush just because that's one I had in my hand. You don't have to use it, you can use another brush if you want to. Now I'm pushing it up a little bit. If I do this, I get a lot of color on top and a little color there, so when I push up like this, I get most colors down, and it looks like some branches coming up in the distance. But of course, a forest isn't just branches. You need the leaves. I need some more color on there. Now this becomes the leaves. Medow have sections, some is far away and some is closer by. I'm going to use the permanent green and add to some of my green mixtures from the very beginning, and I'm going to add white and a little yellow. So I use the fan brush to start and add grass. I'm going to be very gentle in the distance. It's not really any details at all. It's just Babby, the green coloring, and the saturated or yellow-green color has a great contrast to the purple highlights. Yellow and purple are complementary colors, so they highlight each other, which is why I choose them. I keep adding this color to the front, and when I work my way to the forest, I stop like there and I start here again. Now this one goes in front of this one, and I push harder and harder. The further in front I get to make it look like vegetation. And like before, I push up, I don't pull down. To keep adding details, I need a bright yellow in the background just to get some extra structure to the grass. Then I need my liner brush